All right. You want to see if Brother Mfundishi is on? Let's see if this is him.
Hotep, this is Mfundishi Jhutym Ka in Haru, El Salim.
Right. All right, brother. Appreciate you coming on. I was trying to hold it down while you came.
Yes, sir.
Mayafi Hotep Netaru. And how you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely divine. Excellent, my brother.
All right. Everybody is ready in order to hear what you have to say. And like I said, I was just trying to hold it down until you came. So I'm glad you're here. You're definitely welcome to start where you want to.
Is there any specific question you wanted to shoot out first before I?
Well, let's deal with the title, Understanding Kemet.
Okay.
When we get to understanding Kemet, what is it that you want the masses to understand? For they can take this information to, as we would say, each one teach one.
Right.
What is that we need to know about ancient Kemet or understanding Kemet that there's things in which that you might have heard or might seen in which that contradicts or do not conclusively connect the pieces? What piece can you give us?
Okay. Well, let me start from a place of harmony. That ancient Kemet is the name that we call Egypt today. It is in the Nile Valley, ancient time called the Hapi Valley, because the Nile River, true name is Hapi, and we all know it's the longest river in the world, over 4,160 miles long, coming from the interior of Africa. And so Kemet became a mouthpiece of the interior of Africa, because Hapi became a cultural highway that transferred information, values, and concept from the interior of Africa. And so the parents of ancient Kemet lies up south in the interior of Africa, ancient Kush, or the real name is ancient Kash, which we look at today as Sudan and Ethiopia, Somalia. All that was part of ancient Kash. And then in the highlands of Tanzania, where Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa, over 19,650 feet, which really makes it the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. So I make sure people heard me. The tallest freestanding, like Mount Everest, is mountains on top of mountains in a fault. Kilimanjaro is just one mountain protruding from the ground, over 19,000, almost 20,000 feet high. But it's a source of the White Nile and also Mount Wanzuri coming out of Uganda. So the spiritual knowledge, all the spiritual paraphernalia, everything that was used in ancient Kemet came from the interior. So I want people to understand that ancient Kemet was the mouthpiece of the African continent. And so sometimes we are infatuated with the lips, and we realize that lips are attached to a body, and the body is the continent of Africa. And this spirituality spread throughout the world. And so the first inhabitants of Asia are these Africans. The first inhabitants of North America here are these same people. The first inhabitants of South America and the highest civilizations they have there are these same people from the Hapi Valley. They've even found Medu Neter and hieroglyphics in the Grand Canyon that goes back to the time of Tutankhamun. And so we have to understand there's been a cultural highway not only up and down the Nile in eastern Africa, but across the oceans. We have communicated with our brothers and sisters in Asia, South America, and North America. And we are the indigenous, original people on all of the continents. We are the original indigenous people of Europe in terms of human beings. Many Europeans are partially Neanderthal, so we don't want to necessarily claim that. But I need to put things in its proper perspective. So Kemet is the foundation of civilization that we know of today. And so if you look around the world and you see what we classify as high civilization, its roots are from ancient Kemet and the Hapi Valley coming from the interior of Africa. And so that exists here in North America, South America, the indigenous people of the Caribbeans. And so it's kind of like a cultural link. We are actually technically one people who have spread around the world and giving the world civilization, high knowledge, and spirituality. Unfortunately, certain people have turned that around and made religions out of it that put you in a box. But Kemet was about spirituality. It was about freeing you. When we talk about Amen, Ra, Ptah, those are not different gods and goddesses, Sekhmet. Those are talking about one spiritual energy with different names, different ways to talk about that one particular name. Amun is the unseen creator force of the universe. Ra is the architect of the universe. It's the same person, or that person, but the same energy, the same creator. Whether you call it God, we call it nature, divine principles. Ra, the seen manifestation. So a lot of times you talk about Amun Ra, that which is seen and that which cannot be seen, which is all manifestations of the one. And so this one spirituality is the center of our world, whether we're on North America, South America, the Caribbeans, no matter where we happen to be. So that's ancient Kemet. I wanted people to understand this foundation. I'm not just staying with that one little place we call Egypt today. I'm talking about the Nile Valley, and the place we call Egypt today, ancient Kemet, was where this was a repository where the records were kept and etched in stone. See, in a tropical rainforest, they could perish. Like if you're in Tanzania or Kenya, Congo, heavy rains and it's perishable, and if they wrote with paper or wood but in Kemet, in the desert area, they etched things in stone. And we heard that the writing is on the wall. Well, it's still on the wall. And that's why I teach the Medu Neter, the ancient language of our ancestors. So we don't have to take our enemy's word for what our ancestors wanted us to know. So, my brother, I hope that's a start of what is Kemet and how that links us, because it is one of the foundations of our civilization. So even when we're talking about the indigenous Moors here in Native America, there was a relationship between us on North America with a relationship in South America and a relationship on the African continent and Asia.
Well, where did you find those connections? Was it through the Olmecs? Well,
the Olmec is one connection. Yeah, the Olmec, the Aztecs, and the Inca are all connected, one veggie backing on top of the other. But also simultaneously, even while that was going on, you had the mound builders here in North America. They found hieroglyphics, Medu Neter, in New England, that even goes back to Tutankhamun's time. So those connections, that's why I learned how to read the Medu Neter. I'm a professor of African Studies and a Kemetic scholar, and that was important for me to learn how to read these glyphs. So I've seen the glyphs and the foundation. So even here in North America, there was a connection back and forth between the continent, and there are continents that were lost during the Great Flood. That was also a in-between conduit between this information.
Are you speaking in reference to the Isles of Mu or Lemuria?
Yeah, Lemuria, Mu, many different names, But I want to say many different civilizations were lost, have come and gone and lost, because we've had several great floods. And you have to understand, during the Ice Age, you might have ice glaciers in Europe that might be a mile thick. So that water comes from the ocean. So when we had the warming period and that water, that ice was released back into the ocean, you have water levels that might have raised 50 feet, 100 feet, succumbing many lowlands. It just so happened that Africa is a plateau, and almost the whole continent of Africa is above sea level, where Europe is below sea level. So during ice ages and during great floods, much of Europe was destroyed. There was an ocean, big waterway that ran right through the middle of North America. The top parallel of the Americas during certain ice age was totally frozen. It just so happened that Africa is in the middle of the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer. And so almost during all these ice ages and different catastrophes all around the globe, Africa basically almost maintained virtually intact, with the minor changes in the north and the south.
And of course,
so there is
right. So of course, that was shown in the movie 2012.
Right. So when the smoke cleared, where were they?
Right.
At the coast of southern Africa. Right.
Right, and they had to state the same thing that you just told us, is that Africa is a plateau and that is a mountainous region. So therefore, they was unaffected by the ice melting, and the bushes, melting, so they weren't even affected by it.
Right. And see, most people who, for example, who are historians who are pouting a lot of information, don't understand geography. And so they'll make statements that's not geographically sound, so they don't even know topography, or know the land mass and know what was going on. Like right now, they try to attribute the mound builders, the Native Americans, the red man clearly stated he's not the mound builder. Those mounds were there when he got there. Those were black people who built the mounds all along the Mississippi. So you can go from almost Canada all the way down to Louisiana and empty it into the Gulf, and you'll see with the largest mounds being near the St. Louis area. And it's clear that these were all done by a black people or people with a dark hue, who we would classify today as coming indigenously from the African continent, and are the people who populated the planet Earth initially.
Right, and those mounds would be the Cahokia Mounds.
Yes.
All right. Now, where do understanding Kemet fits in at with sovereignty?
Okay, we get this word sovereignty from Kemet. The monarchs and the royal family considered themselves sovereign beings, people who were the captain of their ship and in control of their destiny mentally, physically, and spiritually. That's what sovereignty means. It means that you are in control of your life cycle mentally, physically, and spiritually. They understood that there is no opposite of life, that life was a continual cycle because energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred from one state. So birth and death are cycles of life. And so people think they were infatuated with death. No, they understood that death was a cycle of life, and they were preparing themselves for this cyclical rotation of eternal life. And so they were tapped into that. And some of the same cycles were done in North America by the Moors here, and the Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans, also this preservation of life, because they understood that life was eternal. So the same information. Now, why do you think the Native Americans wore the jaguar as the high priest? In Kemet, it was the leopard. Both of them have spots. You think that was just a coincidence? No. It's not a coincidence. It's the same people. Okay, they didn't find the leopard here, but the jaguar was a cat that was very similar, and it kept the same spirit. And so the same thing. Mountain lion became powerful. You had the lion in Africa, the mountain lion here. It's not a coincidence. Same information being passed through cultural change and cultural transformation. And so many of the things that we see here in North America, we'll see in the Kemet. But because, again, things were destroyed here, in Kemet, they happen to be preserved because they were etched in stone. When we look at the mounds, we don't necessarily see any writing left behind where the people really describe who they are and what they were about. They just left cultural things behind. And then when the red man came, he just co-opted this and made it his. And then he just squatted on the land after these people had moved on.
Right.
And so now we think they did it, most of their answers, they tell you they didn't do it, but the European don't want to give credit to us.
No doubt about it.
So anyhow, this concept of sovereignty, brother, was always because you're not supposed to be living your life with a job. You're not supposed to be living your life working for somebody else, fulfilling their dreams and not your dreams. Each person is sent here with a purpose. And you are to master your tools to fulfill your purpose. And when you do that, then you are fulfilling a state of being the captain of your ship, and you are fulfilling a state of sovereignty where you are connected to other sovereigns who also have control of their destiny.
Now, when we talk about the word sovereign, of course, we have that right now within a lot of the, movements in which they're taking place. In a sense, sovereign is getting a bad name because you have the sovereign citizens movement. And
yes, well, it's getting a bad name because you're not depending on your enemy, or you're not depending upon the matrix, the government, to protect you when we already know they don't have our best interests at heart. It's getting a bad name because people realize that they have to take their own life and their own welfare of their family into their own hands. Most people who are claiming to be sovereign are becoming self-efficient. So, you might have a dome building that you're living in and using solar energy. So you're not plugged into the matrix, so they can't make no money off you, off the electricity. You are dealing with well, and you are alkalining your water and stuff, so you're not depending upon a contaminated reservoir where they got fluoride and other stuff in there trying to do brain control over you. And so here you are growing your own food. How dare you take your life into your own hand? And so sovereign, and then on top of all that, you're defending yourself, which is your constitutional right to defend yourself. And so now here you got people who are doing for themselves, eating for themselves, making their own clothes, using the natural energy of the universe, and not depending on the matrix. And then how dare they defend themselves? So the government don't want that to catch on. They don't want you to take control over that because it's about mind control and it's about manipulation, using you like a pencil. And you know what happened, my brother, when you use the lead up out their pencil, you throw it away. And so now here we are trying to define ourselves. How dare you define yourself? What do you mean you got your own birth certificate, your own laws? No. So that's what's getting a bad rap. They don't want people to follow those concepts. They don't want people to be self-sufficient. They don't want people to be masters of their own ship. They don't want people to be able to fulfill their dreams. They want people to get a good education, which is a European education, so that you can get a good job, and a good job is working in the matrix, for the matrix, fulfilling the dreams of the matrix. And sovereignty is the opposite of that.
That's right.
So am I clear, my brother, with that?
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful, brother. I mean, that's one of the most exquisite breakdowns of the word sovereign and the concept of sovereignty that I've heard on this show. And actually, I was just with Dr. Paul Ghost this past week, last weekend, in which that is what he's doing in here in North Carolina, in White Oak. That he is doing the same thing, dome homes, home buildings, well water, solar panels, so forth and so on. So it's about self-sufficiency.
Yes, sir.
And by having self-sufficiency or being self-sufficient, you gain self-worth, self-love.
Yes.
So we have to begin to start self-identifying ourselves.
And you understand that you're responsible for your destiny.
That's right.
Not someone else.
Exactly. Now, when
you take ownership. And when you take ownership, there's a responsibility.
That's right, and accountability. Now, you spoke about defense, and I know that you're a Sifu, you're a master at the martial arts.
Yes, sir.
I've seen you, do Qigong and Tai Chi and different other martial arts. And we're talking about raising vibrations also as part of that understanding of Kemet, and as well as also sovereignty, and now the raising of the vibration.
Yes, my brother. Let me just touch on that for a second, okay? We're living at a time where the whole earth is making a transformation. We got possibly a pole shift. We got energy vortexes totally moving to the point where our whole magnetic pole is shifting. You'll go along with things like that. You have a total climate change. The climate is out of whack, and plus our colonizer is helping that because he can now manipulate weather. And so if it's going to get bad, he can make it extra bad. And we've seen an example of that at Katrina. And we know from Katrina that they don't have our best interests at heart. I mean, they came in, they snatched black people out of their homes, deported them. Black men were shot, over 150 killed, unaccounted for. Just families disrupted and never to be brought back there. So we already know that they can take natural catastrophes and use it to their advantage. And then they'll recycle their families back there, and you will never be there. So we know the Air Force have this ability now to control weather. So there's going to be natural catastrophes because the earth is already shifting. So they can take advantage of this and make things, because see, right now, brother, they want to get rid of over half of the population of the world. Do you understand me?
Yes.
This is the Matrix. This is you can call it Illuminati, you can call it whoever you want, but there's a group of elite people on this planet who work for a force that we might not want to talk about on this show. But they work for a force. They're like familiars. You know what a familiar, like if you ever watched the Blade trilogy?
That's right.
Familiars are regular human beings who work for the vampires.
Right.
Because the vampires can't go certain places. They
That's
can't.
Right.
So there is an entity here on this planet, and it's been here ever since we've been here. They live underground. And these royal families work for them. And we are food for them. And these familiars, these royal families, are promised wealth and power and dominion over the masses. And so they are helping these entities destroy life as we know it. So, brother, probably within the next 20 years, more than half the population of the whole planet will be gone. The planet's not overpopulated. It's just that the way energy and wealth is distributed, they don't want to share it. And so we need to get rid of a whole bunch of folks so that whatever is here, they can use it and benefit from it and not share it with the masses of the people. So now here we talk about, I said, as the earth shifts, it's like a dog that has fleas. If a dog has a few fleas, he just scratches every once in a while. It ain't no big thing. But when the fleas get to a point where it's overpowering the dog got to get rid of these fleas. He's shaking it. He might jump in some water. He's violently scratching. Those are like the earthquakes. Those are the tsunamis. Those are the floods that the earth, it's like the earth is an entity that's trying to get rid of its fleas. Its fleas are all those people who have bought into the matrix and who are consuming the planet. And the planet is going to heal itself, brother. So if your vibration isn't raised, so we tell people right now it's not about hating an enemy. It's not even about fighting an enemy physically. It's about raising your vibration. So as the planet shifts its energy from the third dimension to the fourth dimension and eventually into the fifth dimension, you won't be left here on the third dimension as food for these entities. Was that clear?
Oh, yeah, you definitely was clear. And
okay, so I know that's spooky to some people.
No.
But it's a reality, my brother. Some people, the lie that the government tells you, is there other life forms and all of that? No, there's hundreds of other life forms that are human-like, that can communicate with us. And we've been in communication with them for hundreds of years. And this government is in communication with them. And there's an elite group who is in communication with them. And if we don't raise out, see, one of the advantages is we have, brother, if you look at just look at the human brains. I want to make sure that people understand this is not hocusy-pocusy. The human brain, your basic brain is a reptilian brain. Then you have what we call an animal brain, a monkey brain, that deals with emotions. The reptilians and almost most aliens cannot deal with emotions. We're one of the only creatures in the universe that have these emotions. And we're hated and loved for this reason. Okay, but anyhow. And so that's what all the studies is about. Ooh, these emotions, these powers that make you almost unlimited Okay, I don't want to go off on that. If somebody has a question, I'll go into deep detail. And then you got the third part of your brain, which is the front lobe. This is your genius brain. This is the brain that has no boundaries. It can use the animal and the reptilian brain to go beyond both them, the reptilian and the animal. And so, like your pineal gland is a gland that secretes serotonin and melatonin, but it attaches you to the etheric spiritual world beyond this cosmos, beyond this solar system. And we have this ability, and it's tapped into our soul. And so if we don't raise our vibration as the earth shifts into the fourth dimension, then we will be food or destroyed. Simple as that. We need to raise our vibration. And our vibration, I mean, come on, the laws of Ma'at teaches us. And again, we go back to ancient Kemet. Most of the religions are based upon these principles and laws that we get from the Nile Valley. If we raise our vibration and treat people divinely, if we understand that we're divine spiritual beings having a divine human experience, then we began to treat each other like divine beings. We began to love ourselves. We began to treat our bodies like a divine temple. And if you don't defile a divine temple, you don't throw garbage down your throat. You start thinking about the water and the things that you drink. You start thinking about the food. Is it organic? Is it holistic? Is it life-giving? You start thinking about planting and growing your own. You start thinking about the nuts and the berries and the fruits of the land. You're not thinking about killing something to eat. You're thinking about letting everything survive. And so your whole attitude changes. Then you begin to raise your vibration. You start to meditate because you understand that creative energy is inside of you. Meditation, learning how to breathe, learning how to rethink, learning how to master your ship, your brain. And that's a very important part, people. If we don't learn that, all that other stuff is irrelevant because the earth is going to shed its fleas. And those of us who act like our enemy is a flea. I don't care what color you are, what nationality you call yourself. If you are acting like the European colonizers, then you are a flea, and the earth is going to get rid of you.
Because you still
I hope that was clear, brother.
Oh, it definitely was clear. It's because that individual would still be operating at a third-dimensional level or density.
Yes.
Because the totality weren't able to make the transition or the jump or the transformation, as we go through this dark rift, the fourth dimension, and as we come out of the dark rift on the other side of the full-time belt into the fifth dimension. So what is going on is that the earth itself is graduating, and we, as earthlings, we must graduate also.
Right, and that's raising the vibration. That's what that's all about. You got to graduate. See, if you know your history and you still ain't graduating, then so what? You'll know your history and perish. But you got to, so you empower yourself with knowledge, but then you got to raise your vibration. I tell people, I think that the Manchu combat arts, which most people call martial arts, I don't call it martial arts because that comes from the god Martial from Greece, who was killing everybody and destruction and war.
Manchu arts, right?
And so it's the Manchu arts. Manchu was the nature of war, but war in combat to preserve Ma'at. Truth, justice, righteous, harmonious balance. So we call it the Manchu combat arts. For example, the founder of the second golden age in ancient Kemet was Menchu Hotep, the nature of war and combat, who was at peace. So as we are learning the Manchu arts, one of the main things is Ma'at Akuba Ankh, how to breathe, how to do the meditation, which is similar to what the Tai Chi, the Qi Kong, and those things. So you got to have an objective of raising your vibration, as you're doing this. Yes, you want to stay in shape, but that's only because this is your sacred body temple, and it's supposed to be in divine shape.
Excellent.
So raising the vibration. If I can't say anything else, people, we got to raise our vibration. We're moving into that fourth dimension now. Some of us are operating already there, and if you're still, just eating flesh, trying to get rich, trying to get paid, you are stuck in the third dimension and you are doomed.
All
so,
right.
my brother, where are we now? I'm open to any comments or any questions. Where do we want to take it now?
Brother Mfundishi, we're having some issues with hearing you.
Okay.
Feedback. But,
okay.
All right, but we clear now. I can hear you now. So repeat what you're saying about the third dimension.
Oh, all I said is that if people are not, if they don't have the mindset to raise their spiritual vibration through meditation, through yoga, the internal martial arts, or some type of Manchu art, then they are going to be doomed. If they're just pursuing getting paid, if they're just pursuing getting a good job, if they're just pursuing being part of the matrix, then they are locked into the third dimension. And I'm just telling you, the planet is moving beyond the third dimension. So you will perish. You will go down with your enemy. And so it's extremely important for us to have knowledge of self. And as self is moving to the fourth, into the fifth dimension, high vibration is the key. Learning to live correctly and by the laws of the universe.
No doubt about it. Plenty that you are dropping on us right now, and I'm pretty sure everybody is loving it. Let me go and see if there's any questions. Let's go to area code 314. You're on the line.
Yes, sir, Brother Miguel, St. Louis, Missouri Republic. Yes, sir, brother. When you meant about the third dimension, that includes the so-called Illuminati and Rothschilds and all them?
Right. They have a compact. They have a pact to rule the third dimension. And so they're doing all this stuff to keep you locked in the third dimension, keeping you looking for a job, keeping you looking for them to protect you, looking for them to feed you. And then at some point you're going to be their food.
Okay.
So, it's important for you to raise your vibration to the fourth. And as you move into the fourth dimension, then you can see them. Their mask will be uncovered.
Okay, so they're going to be left in the third dimension. Is that right?
Yes, sir. They can't move beyond that. Yes.
Okay, that's
They've
what I want to hear.
They've made like a pact with the devil.
But I can move to the fourth dimension, but they can.
You can move.
Okay.
Most of us can. Let me. I have to be just really clear about that. Did you hear the part that talked about the three levels of our brain?
Yes, you're talking about.
Yes, we have you have a reptilian part of your brain.
And the animal
you have the
part.
animal part of your brain. We call the monkey brain. And then you have the front lobe, which is your spiritual brain, your astrological brain. Well, the people they work for don't have that spiritual brain. And if you'll notice, the higher your technology, the more void you are of spirituality.
Okay.
And so they're trying to get you totally hooked into this technical world, which means that the spiritual ability that you have, you will lose. You ever heard that expression? If you don't use it, you what?
Lose it.
You lose it. And so they're trying to keep us so preoccupied in their world, trying to get gadget to gadget to gadget. Black people got more cell phones than the rest of the people on the planet.
I can believe that. Yes.
Some of us got two or three cell phones in every color. So we're bought this matrix concept to keep us preoccupied and locked into a third dimension. We have the ability to be with our minds, to use cell phone to telepathy through our thinking process.
Okay, so what you're referring to, like cell phones, as you mentioned, the website, the computers, and the internet, and so on.
Right. The more you get tapped into that, the less you are to use your spiritual and your front lobe for focus and stuff of that nature. Once you lose that, then your animal brain and your reptilian brain takes over, and it locks you in a third dimension. You can't shift, and you're going to be here, and you just perish.
Okay.
Now, when you speak about the spirit, would that go back to what you were speaking about earlier about the emotional body and the development of the emotional body and how they don't have good development of the emotional body?
Right. Almost none of the aliens have that.
Right. Because
so that is something, that is something that they envy us for.
Right.
And that's what most of the studying is about.
One more question. Are you referring to people with different so-called religions as well?
Different religions? No, I'm not talking about various religions. See, the spirituality that is linked to most religions is going to keep you in the third dimension.
Okay.
I need to say that. I'm not a component of any one religion. All religions are going to keep you third dimension. You need to be moving towards spirituality, which now moves you towards the fifth and eventually the fifth dimension. See, in the fifth dimension, the alien beings or the Illuminatis in them have no power over you. None. You can vanquish them in a blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do that and don't have the ability, so they got to keep you preoccupied so that you don't shift with the planet.
So that's where I want to go.
Yes.
Fourth and fifth dimension. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, my question.
That's where you're going, Brother L, because you already are fourth dimensional being. And that is shown through your antennas, which is your hair follicles. Your hair comes out already in a curl pattern in which that is similar to the ohm antenna on the back of the TVs back in the days, in which that symbolized ultra-high frequencies. Hence, you are able to deal with the ultraviolet light as it come in as being a melanated being. Those who are stuck within the third dimension operate at the very high frequency, or VHF, which is with the straight ear antennas, which is known as the rabbit ear antennas. And so that symbolizes their straight hair, which is lanky and lifeless. So
yes, sir.
You already are a fourth dimensional being, and you being held down by third dimensional beings. But when you make the transition and graduate to the fifth dimension, then they no longer have a hold on you.
Right. So they can still hold you in the fourth dimension because you relinquish your power. That's all.
Okay.
That's the only reason why they can control you as you move into the fourth dimension. The only way they can control you in the fourth dimension is you relinquish your power.
Okay, I got you.
Right. And for those who don't understand, the third dimension is based on length, width, and height. When you add depth, D-E-P-T-H, into it, time and space, then that's the fourth dimension. Then when you add potential energy, or which transforms into kinetic energy, that becomes the fifth dimension, and you're dealing with energy in the fifth dimension. So this is why he said that they will be decloaked, because we will actually be able to see their auric fields and know who we are dealing with.
Yes, sir.
See the impressions of those beings in which that has attached themselves at their first and second chakra level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good information. Right. Excellent.
All right. Well, we got some other calls here. Thank you, Brother L.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
All right. We're going to go to area code 253. Area code 253, you're on the line.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. How's it going?
Everybody good?
Very good information. My name is Masan. I'm calling from Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right.
I got a question. Is there an actual way to describe what the fifth dimension, what the fourth or fifth dimension actually be like?
Well, my brother just did. Brother Alim, they just kind of did a really good example of it. Is that when you add depth and spirituality on a high level, you're dealing in the fourth dimension. In the fourth dimension, you'll be able to see the cunningness and the deviousness and the backwardness of all third-dimensional concepts and ideas. And you'll realize that almost everything that we are doing in this so-called civilization is backwards and will keep us in a deathly state. That's the third-dimension lockdown. Not thinking on a high spiritual concept. If you're locked into religion, you're locked into third dimension. You're locked into following a person. As opposed to a spiritual concept that you are, the God exists within you. When you move to this high vibration, and you are actually in touch with the spiritual entities of the universe, you're moving on the fourth dimension. And that gives you the information to move on the fifth dimension. Fifth dimension, then your physical body no longer even means anything. You know how you have an out-of-body experience?
Right.
Well, on the fifth dimension, you don't really even need this body. And so there is absolutely nothing they can do. As the planet vibrates on this high level, you are vibrating with it. Earthquakes, tsunamis, all of that, is irrelevant to you.
All right, so we don't need his body. Say if I want to lay down and I can actually project out my body and like go overseas, go to other planets.
Any place you can think of, brother. You don't even have. And the Europeans have made sure, and I don't want to just use the word European because some of us are involved in it too, just that it happens to be their paradigm. But the third dimensional lockdown, like what the Illuminati and the Matrix is involved in, is to not even have you think about that. You see, most Europeans, their brain is calcified when they move into puberty. Their pineal gland, when they go into puberty at around 13 years old and above, their pineal gland goes into calcification. So they have dreams and stuff just like everybody else, but many of them, a large percentage, maybe 80%, can't even move to these higher spiritual levels that we're talking about. And we're just in the opposite. We have the ability, about 20% of us can't move because we have calcified our brains through being part of their matrix and living their life and having their dreams. Dr. Amos Wilson, may his soul and spirit be rest with us, says that one of our problems is we've adopted the dreams, we've adopted the desires, and they've even defined success for us. When your enemy defines success for you and you accept it, then you are already dead. You can't move to fourth and fifth dimension. Do you understand that?
Loud and clear now.
So now, brother, when you see people, do you know anything about the Menchu or the martial arts? There's something the Japanese call ki, the Chinese call chi. In Swahili, we call it the moyo. In Madunetsa, we call it sekam. It's your internal vital power. Well, what happens is that when you develop this, it transcends age. So you can be 90 and still with a touch blow someone off their feet. That's internal vital power. That is what happens fourth dimension. Now, if you multiply that by 100, that's a fifth dimensional being. So they don't want you to tap into these internal arts. They don't want you meditating, doing those spiritual stuff. They don't want you doing any of that. They want you to be religious, go to work, and pay taxes. So I hope I was clear.
It's loud and clear. It makes a lot of sense to me. I got it, man. I appreciate your info.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Thank you for calling in. You're going to go to area code 609. Area code 609. You're on the line. Can you hear me? Can you hear us? 609, area code.
I can't hear him.
Yeah, I can't either. All right. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat room. All right. There's not really a question, but will we be able to, at the level of the fifth dimension, will we be able to change our cellular or molecular structure, be able to manipulate that much better than we are able to do now?
Yes, fifth dimensional beings won't even have to worry about a physical molecular structure because at the spiritual energy, you will be light. You'll have the ability to, watch this, do interplanetary travel at the snap of an eye. You're not traveling through time and space. You are bending time and space. You are time and space. The whole universe is energy. You become a conscious entity of that energy. So therefore, the boundaries that you have that you think you have no longer will exist. See, and our enemy and the people our enemy is working for, who is also our enemy, some of them can't move ever to that dimension. So their job is to stop you from moving to that dimension and keep you in lockdown in this physical dimension so they can just enslave you. And that's what the world is enslaved right now, brother. I know people think they're free, but we are all enslaved. But you're participating in your slavery.
All right. Someone asked in the chat room, what about smoking weed or marijuana?
What about it?
I guess they want to know, do that have any effect on being able to tap into the unseen in some shape, form, or fashion?
No. Let me make this statement. You get glimpses of what the fourth dimension is, but then you come back to this reality and you don't have the tools to do it without that substance. The idea is that once you know that there is another dimension, how do you get there without the drug? And internally, your mind, your front lobe of your brain can take you there. Wherever the spirit can go, it can take the body. So the idea is to know how, and you do that. Just think of all the great wisdom teachers that are up in the mountains meditating and stuff like that. They're able to make these tremendous leaps and bounds, psychologically, because they've mastered their breath control. Our brain is almost unlimited, brother. We're only using 3 to 5%, maybe maximum 10% of our brain. And so you have the ability to do some miraculous things. And if you're just using another substance, that can only show you that there are no boundaries. But then when you come back here, you're back where you started. And then you're deteriorating the physical brain that you have. So you don't want to do that. You want your brain operate. Let me say, when you destroy what they call fire cells, they don't reproduce themselves. The brain, the spiritual aspect of your brain is made up of fire cells. All the rest of your cells in the body every 7 years totally reproduce themselves. But fire cells, when you destroy them, and you will destroy it through marijuana, drugs, hallucination, and things of that nature, they don't reproduce themselves. So hopefully you haven't done too much damage so that you can't shift by yourself to the fourth dimension. Hopefully I kind of answered that a little bit.
Oh, you did. No doubt about it, Baba. Someone wants to know in the chat room about DMT.
Yes.
It is said, by the European Caucasians that the only time in which that we experience DMT is during the time of birth and during the time of death. Of course, we know for those who go into the meditation, breathing in yoga teachings or the Mantu or Mentu arts, we know that is not true because we have that internal power. So someone wants to know about the science on DMT.
Well, you kind of just touched on it right there. We have the ability. Naturally, you can tap into this if you have the hallucinative mushroom. It will tap into your DMT. But again, you don't want to be dependent upon a outside source.
That's right.
To maintain that. You can do that through meditation, through a spiritual high. You can activate the brain to manufacture this inside of you. And this is why people are developing what we call, I touched upon it before, the whole internal power thing. Here's an example of, we know that fright and flight sometimes produces it. So a person who's under extreme stress, they might be a pregnant mother, a mother's baby is crawling under a car and the car is about to back up on top of it, and all of a sudden she gets a flood of this DMT energy and she can pick up the back of the car to save her baby. You can control that mentally, and this is what some of the great masters have been able to do through their meditation and through their internal work, of developing the front lobe of their brain. So yes, you can control this entity, this chemical that can be created inside of the body without using mushrooms or some other outside substance.
All right, we have some other calls because that was a good answer. This is like we playing Jeopardy, and the brother's giving the number one answer on everything. Thank you, Baba. We're gonna go to area code 347. Area code 347. You're on the line. Peace.
Peace.
E.M. Hotel.
Yeah.
Yes, you had a question?
Like a few years ago, I was watching the show, and Tony Blair's wife was on there, and she was talking about they were worshiping and following these beings.
I couldn't hear part of him.
He was saying that Tony Blair's wife was on TV a few years ago, and that she was talking about these beings and who they are following.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that was what I was talking about earlier, that the Illuminati and the Matrix systems are tapped into that, and a lot of these royal families that are in Europe and Asia are tapped in with these beings. So that is a reality, brother. I know the government and nobody won't admit it to you, but yes.
Right. Thank you, brother. We're going to go to the next question. Area code 609. Area code 609. You're on the line.
Peace.
Peace.
E.M. Hotel.
I was on before. I just had a question about Dr. Alim or Baba, if you could answer this. You had mentioned it earlier in the call. I'm pretty much a newbie. I'm kind of a baby to studying consciousness and ancient Kemet knowledge. And someone had recommended to me about joining the Rosicrucians just for the knowledge and education. Do you think that's recommended for more?
My brother, you can comment on that. I'll just make this statement. I will say no, brother. Okay. That would just be just like joining another church. The Rosicrucian order is the rose and the cross. So it's basically a Christian organization using Kemetic spiritual science to fulfill their wishes. And they love to have black people join their organization because you give them energy. So
I see what you mean.
Their founders are like cultural or spiritual vampires. So they feed.
So
you empower
like
them.
Masons or something like that.
Right. You empower them by joining their organization. And yes, they will give you some information that you're not privy to right now, but you can still get that information. That's why I tell people, learn how to read the Medunetia. Get into the science of ancient Kemet. Just don't get mesmerized by the pyramids. Get into the science of learning the language and learning the science that they knew.
Okay. Right. Also, would you say that the season of the Cabal is coming to an end?
Well, we're in. Let me just say this, brother. We're in a transition period right now, where the life as we know it is getting ready to come to an end. That doesn't mean a destruction totally, but it means a total shift. And I talked about that earlier. We're moving already into fourth dimension. And people are trying to resist it. Right now, you're not getting the correct news of the world. You're not getting how many floods and tsunamis is really happening in Asia. You're not really getting the true source of the volcanoes and thrusts that are happening in South America that's totally destroying whole cities and villages. They don't want you to see the whole big picture. Because they're trying to keep you in a lockdown here, because then you would say, oh, man, I better get my meditation on. I better start, vibrating. I better start doing some studying. They want to keep you right here in the matrix, buying the latest tight jeans, having your pants sagging off your butt. They want to keep you right there, bling, bling, get the most expensive car, and go in the hock buying $1 million house. They want you. That's where they want you.
Right.
But that's obviously the very opposite of where you need to be.
Okay.
So, brother, we're raising our spiritual vibration. You don't need to join one of those organizations. Remember, religion and those organizations is a box. It confines you.
That's what I'm trying to get out of, is religion.
Right. So you don't want to jump into the frying pan into some boiling water.
Right.
And there, you can get that information that they are getting ready to give you. You're just going to be financing somebody else's dreams, aspirations through Christianity.
Okay.
All right.
Makes sense.
All right.
Thank you.
My brother, did you want to add anything to that?
Oh, no, that was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, this is Jeopardy, and we getting the number one answers right now. All right, we're going to area code 917. Area code 917, you're on the line. Peace.
Peace.
EM Hotel.
Good. I know you guys giving out some excellent information, and I know you always speak of the meditation. And the other day I heard you on the remix show, and you're talking about the qigong and deep breathing. My biggest problem with the breathing is because of my allergies. I'm always congested. So I was just trying to figure out if there's anything I can do to try to aid myself. And also, you guys, it's a lot of information from somebody trying to take in who was raised in the traditional Christian setting. So now I'm trying to open my mind. And I know you gentlemen have a lot of wealth of Nation DVDs. I'm looking for a starting point where I can educate myself and try to learn more about the Kemet and also learn about more of the meditation and the deep breathing exercises that I need to do to help expand myself.
All right, let me say this, is that in order to remove the mucus from out of your nasal passages, you would have to take some sea salt and sniff it up through your right nostril and blow it out through your left nostril, and then once again up through your left nostril and blow it out through your right nostril in order to clear the passages. What salt does, sea salt in particular, what it does is dry out the mucus so that you are able to breathe through both nasal passages, through your left and right nostril simultaneously, instead of every 2 hours one of your nostrils getting clogged up. So in which that shows that there are blockages within your meridians and your nadis, in which that stops your body from being able to light up like a Christmas tree, with these blockages. And based on the 24-hour span, you are able to actually gauge the amount of time that the nostril stays blocked on which organ it is affecting. All right, that's what is called chi rhythm. And you are able, over that 24-hour span, in order to find out the time. For example, between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning is when your lungs are supposed to be activated. But if you're having problems breathing during 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning, then that means that you have that you do not have clear passages, within your lungs. So therefore, you are suffering from certain blockages, in which that can lead to deficiency, in which that can lead to illness, sickness and disease.
Okay.
Let me just add to that, my brother. That was excellent. Add to that is that you probably need to also just check your diet. You probably have a diet that's causing irritation, and then that irritation causes inflammation and mucus. Dr. Sebi clearly states that mucus is one of the number one causes for all disease. So you have an incubator for it to live. So as long as you're congested like that, that's a incubator for harmful disease to also flourish in, which makes you susceptible to other sicknesses. Okay? So you definitely want to deal with that. So I would really look into what is your diet. I would increase your water intake, drinking good alkaline water, and then having a good exercise program where your respiratory is being really exercised, and definitely get into deep breathing, some form of deep breathing, yoga, meditation, so that you learn how to breathe through your full lungs, using your diaphragm. But also make sure you do all the stuff that Brother Bay just told you to do. You want to constantly do that until you have mastered that. Most of the respiratory, asthma, those type of things, these are all degenerative diseases coming in contact with the Western world and the Western mindset and the Neanderthal-like people we call Europeans. So that's where the common cold, the cold isn't common, and this disease is called cold because it comes from a people who come from the cold climate. And it wiped out the basic Native Americans almost. We just happen to have the strongest immune system because we are the original people, and we've made and adopted. But the people who had asthma in 1900 was almost unheard of among African people. But we eat the same foods they eat, start thinking the same things they're thinking, going the same places they're going, living the same lifestyle they're living, then we become them in blackface, and we got more diseases of theirs than they have of theirs. So you got to change your lifestyle along with, start doing those things, my brother. High vibration. Move your vibration up and all that goes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, fellas. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. All right. And let me say this too, brother, before you go, is that one of the techniques in order to expand your auric field and to strengthen your auric field, hence eliminating dis-ease, because there's no longer deficiency of energy within the body, and the energy is able to flow within the body. The technique is what is called pranic healing or pranic breathing, in which that you would do 6-3-6-3. You would breathe in for a count of 6, hold it for 3, breathe out for a count of 6, and hold it for 3. Your auric field normally with an average person is about 3 feet outside of your body, but it will expand to 15 feet once you reach the 100 breaths. So you will want to practice that technique at least once a day, 100 times, 6-3-6-3. So that will help also to raise your vibration and to eliminate dis-ease and to help the transition from the 4th into the 5th dimension. All right, we got another caller here. We're going to go to area code 618. Area code 618. You on the line.
Islam, peace.
Islam, peace.
Hotep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had a question. I was thinking about when you were talking about going to the 5th dimension, the movie Jumper.
Mm-hmm.
It came to mind when how he was looking at the pictures and then transporting himself. Would that have anything to do with that?
Well, no, that's still
like
fourth.
That's
still with. Yeah, that's still a fourth dimensional concept.
That's still fourth dimension.
Yeah, that's still fourth dimensional. You notice that when his energy was low, he couldn't jump.
Yeah.
So when they hit him with the electrical shock, he couldn't jump. So he was still operating on the 3rd and 4th dimension.
Still on 3rd and 4th, okay.
Right, but
Okay, and then I had another question about, because I always hear that about, how we use, 10% of our brain.
And that's the maximum, brother. Very, very few people even use 10%, but go ahead.
For us, being Asiatic and things like that, is that is our makeup, or is it just because of the Europeans and us being enslaved? Is that more the cause of us just using 10%, or is that a natural?
No, we're kind of like on mental lockdown. Just think about this, brother. Once you enter school, whether it's pre-K, kindergarten, you're being diseducated, miseducated, and dumbed down from that point.
Okay.
Imagine if from that point you were learning the spiritual concept and laws of the universe. Just imagine how powerful you would be at 18, 19,
Man, control.
Right. That means they wouldn't be able to control you, so you're not going to get that at all. So that's why it's so important for us to take control of our own educational institutes. The sheep doesn't go to the wolf to learn how to be a sheep.
True.
Other than that, you become a lamb chop. All right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what we have become, lamb chops for our enemies. And unfortunately, Carter G. Woodson talked about this in 1931 in The Miseducation of the Negro. And he said our most educated blacks will be our new enslavers. See, so you don't even have to deal with the European because you got the European education in blackface.
Yeah.
And so when we look up to Dr. So-and-so with the PhD, and, he has been mastered the indoctrination of his enemy, and so his enemy can go to sleep because now we'll do the job that the enemy does.
He's doing the work, he's doing the work.
He's doing the work.
And he'll attack you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll attack you.
And then you tell your children, grow up to be like him. You want to be like Dr. So-and-so. You want to be like something. You see what I'm saying? So our enemy can just go to sleep. And we perpetuate our lockdown. We perpetuate our enslavement. In fact, we do a better job of enslaving ourselves than our enemy can. Because we're more creative. We be gorilla slam dunking our enslavement. We think of things of killing ourselves that the enemy hadn't even thought of.
And that's the power of our brain. Because I was thinking about it because I worked in the high school for a few years, and, you know, and it really would irritate me. I mean, I wasn't conscious then, but just how I started understanding the brain, like the power of how they perpetuate slavery. And then we hold that thought, and we hold that in our brain, and so we study, and the power of our brain, we still bring that forth day by day.
Yes, sir. So, you know, so it really starts with, and that's why when I touched upon, I hope you heard the part about sovereignty. When you're in a state of sovereignty, you're in control of the mastery of your ship. And so that means that you're in control of the education of your children. You're in control of employing your children in a way that's going to enhance your community. You're in control of your destiny mentally, physically. That means you're in control of your force. Anytime your enemy is controlling your food source, you're in serious trouble. Anytime your enemy is controlling your educational system, you're in serious trouble. And anytime you're depending on your enemy for your job, your welfare, your economics, you're in serious trouble. And last but not least, when you depend on your enemy to defend you and save you in a time of a crisis, you're already dead.
You already did. I don't care.
Do you understand that, my brother? So sovereignty is a very serious, and that's why if you call yourself a sovereignty today, you consider a terrorist because the thugs are in control. The thieves are in control. And they want to stay in control, and they don't want you taking control of your own space.
No doubt about it. Now, we spoke on Carter G. Woodson being the second graduate also of Harvard, as well as also a writer for Marcus Garvey. Interestingly, the first graduate of Harvard, known as W.B. Du Bois,
he's the first here.
Marcus Garvey. And so W.B. Du Bois was the New York founder chapter of the Boule, in which obviously Carter G. Woodson was warning us about.
Right.
You know, that they will be the ones in which that will be the advisors of the kings, hence the Rockefellers, you know, as brother Steve Coakley, you know, may he rest, you know, you know, as you know, he told us many years ago, you know, about this transition, and just looking at it, you can see through the last 100 years how Carter G. Woodson was so on point.
Yes, he was on point.
And going back and reading Miseducation of a Negro, not only does he speak about the things that we just spoke about, you know, and wrote the articles for Marcus Garvey, you know, within, you know, Marcus Garvey newspaper, but also he said that most of us aren't even from Africa and that we was from right here. He even was teaching and dropping on the information that we was indigenously from here already in the 1930s.
So, brother, sovereignty is your key, and that's taking control of your own educational system. You have to understand, right now, if somebody said, listen, brother, are you following the Skull and Bones that the Bush family and is involved in, what would your answer be?
No.
Okay. So what the brother's just trying to break down to you is that the Boule is the black version of the Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
So now, let me just say this. Your president, Barack Obama, is a Boule. So Bush was Skull and Bones. Now, he's got you thinking he has a different agenda. But technically, he has the same agenda that the Bushes had.
Same thing.
And when the day is over, they having dinner together and laughing.
Laughing, having fun, yeah.
Well, remember, they're cousins anyway.
So are you serious? Are you understanding that, brother? And both of them have a pact to keep you locked down in the third dimension.
Yep, I can see that. I believe that. It's just like I was talking with the brother.
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying this for you not to vote for Barack Obama because now it's Tweedledee versus Tweedledum.
Dumb.
Okay. Now, even though he has a little bit more charisma into keeping you locked down, and your enslavement is a little bit more palatable. But it's still enslavement, because the system is enslavement. So it doesn't matter who holds that office. It's the head of the enslavement department. So you understand that? He's here to perpetuate the status quo, and the status quo is slavery.
It's slavery.
Okay, so I need to be clear about that. The status is slavery. So now you can have a little bit more palatable. Think about it right now, brother. Unemployment among black people is higher than it was during the upsurging, what they call the riots of the 60s. Unemployment is at an all-time high. And we the happiest people in the world. I'm working in Harlem. White folks come in buses loads to come in to see happy black folks. They come to there's lines around the block going to black churches in New York City and Harlem. You need to come to New York on a Sunday. You will blow your mind of how many white people are coming into Harlem. And every tourist is there with their camera. They're taking pictures because the most oppressed people in the world got the best music, play the best sports, do the best dance, got the best churches, sing the best gospel. Whoa. Do you see something wrong with that paradigm?
Yeah,
but as long as you're in that lockdown, you can't free yourself. Harriet Tubman... Harriet Tubman said she would have freed 10 times the amount of slaves if they only knew they were slaves.
If they only knew, if they only knew. Yeah,
so that's the state we're in right now. If we only knew we were food for another entity and that the Matrix was sucking our energy and blood, then maybe we would do something. We wouldn't be so happy. We're the happiest slaves on the planet.
Man, yeah, slaves so happy about that. And then a fight. Like you say, you try to tell some people about freedom and, tell them some truth, they attack you.
Oh, yes. You don't have to worry about white people bothering you or Europeans or Asians. Black people will do you in.
Man,
how dare you mess up my paycheck? How dare you mess up my, my welfare? How dare you mess up my Social Security? How dare you, interfere with me giving my new BMW? No.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, that's like we were talking. Then I get off one about the degree of learning, how the universe works on 360 degrees. Sister was talking about that, and it's just been in my mind, like how the first 12, 14 years in the education system, you don't even get a degree of learning. They just give you a diploma. Then you go to college, you get one degree and still short 369 of.
Yes. And they would love to get you into their order to keep you in lockdown and to keep you running after the rainbow.
Man.
And technically, you have the answers inside of you. You raise your vibration, and the Creator talks to you within. You move to the fourth dimension, you see all their games, and you can rise above that and prepare yourself for fifth dimensional freedom.
All right. We got two other calls. Thank you, brother.
All right. Peace.
Peace and harmony.
All right. We got area code 614. Area code 614. You're on the line. All right. We got area code 804. You're on the line.
Yo, hello?
Hey.
Yes. Hotep.
Hey, how you doing there?
All right.
My name from Rufus calling from out Richmond, Virginia.
All right.
My question, it's not basically a question. I heard y'all talk about the light code lockdown situation about basically like the cell phones and the TV. See, right. I find myself shying away from all the television and the Facebook and the the cell phones, but I try to get my girl to see that. But it's like she's just so far gone. It's like dead. It's like I can't even just try to pull her out of that. But it seems it's like she just stuck on basis that whole Facebook and TV thing. Not really learning anything, but it just like seems like the more I try, the more she like lowers my vibration down. What I'm trying. And just crazy.
Well, yes, you got to raise your vibration, brother. Let me just make this. I'm anti-prostulation. To prostulate. I believe that the energy that you would use on trying to convince somebody else could have been used for yourself or somebody who wants to learn.
Yeah.
So that's where your energy really needs to be. And you know what? You just be the best example. When you're vibrating and you know exactly what to do and they want to know how you know, you can say, hey, because I don't watch TV. I know the news without listening to the news because what's on the news ain't the news.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not watching the TV that's watching me. I'm not locked into the. You see what's happening, my brother?
Yeah.
You know, and you'll start vibrating on such a high level that your friends and everybody around you they're going to gravitate to you. Listen, brother, what you doing? Well, I meditate in the morning. I'm doing a little yoga. I'm practicing the Manchu arts. I'm practicing. I'm really getting my breathing together. I'm watching the foods I eat. I'm drinking plenty of water. And people will start vibrating towards that energy. But if you spend your time telling people, quit smoking, quit eating pork, quit eating, flesh, put that cell phone down, brother, get out in front of that TV. No, you're wasting energy, valuable energy.
Yeah.
You see, the only energy you can control is your own. Master that. Master your thinking. Go ahead, Brother Bay.
Yeah, because I listen to a lot of Alim based shows, and it's like certain things I learned. I be trying to get her to listen to the show, and it's like, I'm good. So I'm saying, how can you learn anything if you don't want to learn how to listen?
Yeah, but brother, you just got to be a good example. I'm sorry I don't have some magical words that will change your mind.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand
but people have to be ready because, see, you can only heal yourself.
Yeah.
I'm a naturopath holistic healer. I can tell you the herbs to do. Like we just talked to this brother who has asthma and a mucus problem. We can only suggest things. In the end result, you got to do it. Only you can heal yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm
so you can't heal her.
Yeah,
all you can do is heal yourself. When your vibration gets so dynamic, they'll be moved and they'll be begging you for information.
Yeah, but she'll bring it down to a little low especially when you get caught up in everyday life situations. She'll bring it down, then bring my mood down. It's like
no, don't let that happen, brother. Keep your vibration high. You got to do what you need to do. And hopefully you can do that and still love her.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm right here in Virginia. There's not really a lot of outlets.
No, I understand, brother. I went to undergraduate school at Norfolk State University.
Yeah.
In Norfolk, Virginia. So I know the vibration of Virginia.
Yeah, and it's really.
I loved it when I was there and couldn't wait to get out of there.
yeah. But that was basically my question. But I just try to figure out some outlets.
Yes. No, brother, just keep raising your vibration. Keep raising your vibration, and you'll be the light, and she'll gravitate towards that light.
All right, that was my main question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
The flame.
All right, thank you.
All right. We got area code 614. Area code 614, you're on the line.
Peace, Lord. Peace, Lord. This insight. What's going on, Dr. Alim?
Peace.
Peace, brother Baba Mfundishi. Peace, Elder. How you feeling tonight?
Oh, dua and terror. I'm absolutely in an excellent state, my brother. Thank you.
I met you here in Columbus, Ohio last year when you came in with the Tower Village, brother. And every time
that's right.
Yeah, Brother Moore.
Yeah, I was there for 3 or 4 days. Y'all had me. Yeah,
4 joints, man. Every time I get to hear you, brother, it gets better and better. And then we bumped into each other in Harlem last October when I was in Harlem. You was out doing your thing, and we had a chance to build. So I just want to let you know I appreciate all you do. And I just want to comment and kind of throw a little salt and pepper on what y'all already gave the brother, man. And I was that brother a year ago. And you just got to be the best example for your family and your loved ones because, you can tell them and beat them over the head with it, but they're not going to get it until it's their time. And right now, it's just not their time. So just be that best example for them. And then once they get it, then like Baba Mfundishi said, they'll be running to you for more information because my family running for information now on stuff I was telling them 4 or 5 years ago. So just be that peak in the light, man, because you get more bees with honey than vinegar. But
yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you this question, Mfundishi, as it pertains to the Metuneta.
Yes,
when we look at that, you know, and I come from I'm from Chicago. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I heard some background noise. I come from Chicago, and I come up under Dr. Professor Walter Williams, and we always have conversations going back and forth. None of us was there when the ancient Egyptians wrote the Metuneta, so how can we definitively say what certain things or certain glyphs may have meant? So how do we understand that? Because that's been my biggest question that I've been facing.
Yes, sir. Okay, now let me. Okay, I know Walter Williams tells you can't nobody read the Metuneta. I'm familiar with his teachings. He's a deep brother, and I respect his philosophies on a lot of things, but he's totally incorrect there. Brother Diop showed beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Metuneta is still alive in many of the Bantu languages that are still spoken in Africa today. When I studied in Ethiopia, I studied Coptic. Coptic is the last version of Ethiopia. It's the last version of Metuneta using Greek and Roman letters. So we can know the sound of many of it. But within Swahili, many of the Bantu languages, Shanti Tree, the Dogon, their languages still house a lot of the vocabulary of the Metuneta. So we do know how some of the sounds are. We do know what some of the meanings are. So it's important for us to not be discouraged about studying the Metuneta. And I would tell people, to just get all the information you can and try to tap into some of the indigenous African languages, especially the Bantu languages. There's a group in England called the Swahili Metuneta Group, and they're showing you many key Swahili root words that are not Arabic or anything like that. That's actually the same words that are in Metuneta with the same meaning. So, no, it's not lost. It's not a dead language. Europeans would like to kill it. But no, you need to study it. And let me just show you how they're trying to deter you, brother. Right now, if you wanted to study, become an Egyptologist and master Metuneta, you know what your prerequisite is? You have to learn German, French, and English. You have to be master of those before you can, and Hebrew and stuff, before you can take Metuneta. Wow. And that's just to discourage you. Or it's to make sure that when you learn this, you learn it through a European mindset, because the Germans and the French and stuff have done the most writings of translations. But if you learn the Metuneta, you don't have to take their word for it. You can read it yourself. Absolutely. And that's what I teach here in the New Jersey and the New York area. I teach people to empower themselves. Remember, if you heard us talk about sovereignty, take control of your own educational institution. Egyptologist is not trying to disseminate the truth. They're a private white club that wants you to believe that the ancient Egyptians was white folks in the middle of Africa. Right. And they just had a slight suntan. Exactly. And they invented the Jerry curl real early, okay? They want you to think that, and they're not concerned with the truth. And brother, we're ma'at, truth, justice, righteous, harmonious, balance, reciprocity, rightful thinking. All that's the foundation of the Kemetic spiritual system. And so learn the language, brother. Don't let anybody tell you you can't learn it. Don't let anybody tell you that we're not doing it the way the ancient Kemet were doing it. Because you are the ancient Kemet, and you have the ability to tap into that. Let me make this statement. Anything that was said is still being said. Anything that was thought of is still its energy, and therefore it is still in the universe, and you can tap into it. Raise your vibration, and all that stuff will be nonsense.
Wow. And I want to say this real quick. I know Dr. Bay about to end the show, but y'all also touched on these schools, man. That's why we opening our school in September, man, African Center Homeschool. We gotta start teaching our babies ourselves, because I tell people, you can't complain about the public school system. It's not failing our children. The public school system is doing exactly what it's designed to do. So
yes,
in order for us to change this next generation, so we can stop complaining about their parents and all this stuff, we got to grab them and teach them ourselves, man. So that's what it's all about, empowering, opening our own home schools, and giving our children right knowledge at a young age. So when they turn 17, 18, they'll be where we're at now in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. So that's what it's all about, man. Much respect to you, Dr. Alim and Mfundishi. I love your work, brother, and y'all keep doing the good work, man. I love y'all, brothers.
Santi Samara. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you too, Brother Morgan. And
peace, family.
Peace.
All right.
All right. We got area code 904. Area code 904. You're on the line. Peace.
Peace, brothers. First one, pay homage to you brothers for all the great work that you do and been doing over the years. I want to ask, I want to make a statement first. Say over the last 6 months or so, I've been having vivid dreams, and for a while I used to write down my dreams, but over a period of maybe 2 to 3 months, I wasn't able to remember them. But now I'm starting to have a lot of lucid dreams, and I'm remembering everything that's happening. And sometimes spontaneously, I'll have a vision, or I'll see something in this dimension, and I'll actually freeze for a second, and the exact same smell or the exact same feeling that I experienced in my dream state would actually come to this reality as well. Can you kind of touch on that subject?
Well, let me just make this statement. Are you familiar with crystals and gems?
Somewhat.
Okay, you should take an amethyst crystal, a nice piece of amethyst crystal with a good terminals to it, and put it under your pillow. And that'll also help your dream state be able to be more digestible when you're when you wake up in the third dimensional state. Okay. When you're dreaming, you're actually in a fifth dimensional state. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is technically nothing you can't do. Your body is not an elimination, a handicap. In your dream state, you can walk through walls, you can fly, you can go to any place you want to go.
Right.
That's the reality. So we have the ability to tap into this state. And what is happening is that your fifth dimensional self is trying to give you messages to your third dimensional self so that you can make the shift to the fourth so that you'll be ready as the planet moves.
Gotcha.
So that's just in a nutshell, what is happening. And so it's trying to shake you up. You're like, oh, whoa, I smelled that before. That was the same smell of my drink. Yes. But what is that smell connected to?
Right. That's what I'm trying
incense,
to figure
for
out.
example, in the Medu Netcher was called Sin Netcher, meaning to cause to be Netcher-like, cause to be divine-like. And so your frankincense and your myrrh and your rose oil, your lotus, sacred blue lotus oil, was to shift your consciousness out of this third dimensional state so that you can raise your vibration to its higher level and leave that other behind. And so smells and certain things of that, are here to jolt, your consciousness to make a shift. And so sometimes we recognize that in our dreams, but we don't know what it's all about. You think a good meal is coming, brother. No, it's trying to wake you up and tell you you're either doing something wrong or you're on the right path or you need to make a total shift. So continue to write your dreams down because sometimes they're just pieces. You get little puzzle pieces in your dream, and you got to put the puzzle together to see the picture. So get yourself a nice chunk of amethyst crystal and stick it under your pillow, brother.
Okay.
And I think you'll get some better results.
That's right. All right. Before we go, let me put out this message. Actually, we have our event this weekend coming up, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, August the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We will be having the Healing Wings Institute Holistic Health and Natural Wellness Expo in Baltimore, Maryland at 222 St. Paul Street. And we're going to be there for all 3 days. Friday, we're going to start at 6 and at 10 p.m. Saturday, we're going to begin at 10 a.m. in the morning with a break in between from 2 to 6. So everybody can go down to the harbor and check out what they want to check out, and then start back at 6 till 10. And we'll finish up that night, and then we'll begin Sunday morning at 10 a.m. in the morning till 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, during this time, you will learn Qigong, Tai Chi, all of the mental arts as far as the energy modalities, Reiki, pranic healing, the science of breath techniques, as well as numerology, astrology, irisology, raw food nutrition. All right, how to prepare raw foods, as well as just dealing with everything in which that deals with the science of health and healing. So come on out and support this event. Once again, it's going to be in Baltimore, Maryland. It is the Healing Wings Institute Holistic Health and Wellness or Natural Wellness Expo. All right, it is going to be one of the greatest of its kind. So I will be lecturing. I will be there. Matter of fact, I am facilitating it. I am the host. So for those who want to learn more of this information that Baba Mfundishi is speaking about, and that Dr. Alim speak about on a weekly basis, come on out and participate. All right. For those that want the hotel, if you look on the Facebook, you will see the flyer, and you can call the hotel. As a matter of fact, the number is 410-727-2222. That's 410-727-2222. And you can get a suite for $119 a night. It is the Tremont Plaza Hotel, downtown Baltimore area, not far from the harbor. So you will see Coach Kayer there, Raw Veganist, Sasha Lone, who sat under many Queen of Fua, Dr. Layla Africa, Dr. Sabi, etc. So come on out and support this event. This is definitely going to be something that you will always remember, and you will never find another experience like this. All right, and also Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, August the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, it is $35 for registration for each of those days. So come on out and support this. All right. And also for the vending, it is $100 for the whole weekend. That is something that you would not find elsewhere. Just $100 for the whole 3 days for the vendors. So come on out and support this. Brother Baba Mfundishi, you have any closing remarks?
Yes, sir. I just want people, much of the information I talked about can be found in my latest book called Spiritual Warriors Are Healers, and they can get that off of my websites. I have two websites. One is blackgoldspiritualwarriors.com. They can also get information from my website, www.Mfundishi Jhutimas Madunecha, all one word, Mfundishi Jhutimas Madunecha. And that way, those people who really want to learn the Madunecha can actually take my course, even if you're in North Carolina, Virginia, or whatever. I'll be putting this information out on my Facebook. So if you go Facebook, Mfundishi Jhutimas, I have a Spiritual Warrior Weekend coming up August 18th and 19th in upstate New York, where we teach you these survival skills on how to raise your vibration. But again, my book, Spiritual Warriors Are Healers. And my number that you can contact me at is 347-792-9138. Again, 347-792-9138. Asante Sana, Dua Inter. Brother, thank you very much for having me on.
Well, appreciate you for coming on, Baba. And, of course, we have to say, anytime you want to come, you're welcome. So definitely stay in contact, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
All
Shem
right.
Hotep.
Shem Hotep. Now, we have for you Afu Ra, Master Killer, and it's called Mortal Kombat. Since we're speaking about the mental art, let's see how they break it down.
Converted monk style. 9-9 style. Know what I'm saying? Coming at ya. That's how we do. Paraplegic. My fighting stance too strategic. No shadows on my kicks. Too much cheek. Horrific. Too specific. I'm coming through with jujitsu. Bone crushing, bone breaking as I get into scorpion styles with the speed of a cheetah. Hit your pressure points with light skills. I'm either blaster. Iron palms is elemental. Combinations damaging nations and the mental. Cerebral. Cortex is obsolete. You die 10 times if you're trying to test me. Tayo is master. Rhyme style disaster. Studied on the cliffs of mountains reading scrolls. Holding it down. Iron shirt, she comes. A princess in the temple with the Wrong Jung Nim. I went through torture, deadly styles, I'm the author. Ingested metals, yeah, they make me supernova. Triple spinning, kick side kicks and hook kicks. They come a chiller, so you must be master killer. It's I fool, change my style, change the weather. It's I fool, change your mind, just too clever. It's I fool, all the weak styles I sever. Combining 2 styles on the mic with master killer. It's I fool, change my style, change the weather. It's I fool, change your mind, just too clever. It's I fool, all the weak styles I sever. Combining 2 styles on the mic with master killer.
The great ones have searched for the righteous data to show and prove and master the separation of matter. The seeing through depth, never lose conscious of self. Shed a shell, keep it moving factor. Sword swing in the temple, mental state. Danger chamber, 8th yang slang, Wu-Tang. Trained private soldiers in this rap gang. Like that Shanghai Chinky out chick from Bed-Stuy. Wing Chun from Lafayette. Stylishing in Malcolm X. 57 Park, it might spark. It's the heart, one blood cell. Featuring Master Kill. After dark he goes. Bust gun, trust none, touch one, Yun Chun, particle sun, killer bee disease, homegrown, phone from overseas, city under siege, your eyes bleed, the weak got a red like spinning roundhouse kicks to the head, he dead.
It's I fool, change my style, change the weather. It's I fool, change your mind, just too clever. It's I fool, all the weak styles I sever, combining 2 styles on the mic with master killer. It's I fool, change my style, change the weather. It's I fool, change your mind, just too clever. It's I fool, all the weak styles I sever, combining 2 styles on the mic with master killer.